Well, hello everyone. My name's Chris Hewitt, and it gives me immense pleasure to welcome you to this very special keynote seminar to celebrate the 40th anniversary of Camel Trophy. With us here right now are some very special guests, which I'm going to introduce now. First, we have Bob Ives, who represented Team UK in Camel Trophy, the Amazon 1989. Hert Blondeel, who represented Team Belgium in Tanzania and Burundi in 1991, and Duncan Barber, Camel Trophy coordinator for a number of years. So perhaps we could start with you, Duncan. I understand that you went through a Camel Trophy selection and you were actually too good to be to represent your nation, and they found a different job for you. Is that correct?
I'd like to think that I was too good to be a member of one of the teams. That really wasn't the reason, and that's kind of a very long story. But that is where certainly mine and Bob's story starts, because I went through selections with Bob in 1985 for the '86 event. I suppose I'm better known for not having got into the team, having tried for it 3 times on the trot. Always got down to the last. Was it 6, Bob? Yeah, last 6, I think.
Yeah.
I got down to the last 6, but never made the cut for the team itself for a variety of reasons. I kind of know more about that now, having worked for Camel Trophy on the event as the kind of worldwide event coordinator. So I know that there was other reasons behind that at the time, which was to do with the whole PR side of things, and the fact they didn't want a couple of Scotsmen representing UK, because for the first time they were looking at myself and Ronnie Dale actually as quite serious contenders for the team, and then they looked at myself and Mark Day, and I know they looked at myself and Ian Chapman actually as a strong team. But whatever happened, I mean, to be honest with you, whoever was in the last 6 would have made, whoever they chose, however they mixed those last 6 up, would have made good team members back in the time. But I was fortunate enough to be asked back about, when was it? It would have been 1988. No, in 1989, I was asked if I was interested in working on the event by Ian Chapman and Duncan Lee. I was out in South America actually, and had received a call from Ian asking if I could go and help with the vehicles coming into Manaus for the start of the '89 event, which was Bob's event. But unfortunately, because I was running an overland trip for a company called Exodus Expeditions, and that the timing of the event was right in the middle of a 4-month trip that I was doing around South America. I couldn't really leave that lot in the lurch and jump onto a Camel Trophy job. So
I remember, Duncan, when we at the start of our event, there was a note in our Land Rover in Brazil that you managed to get there somehow. I can't remember how you got us a note there, and having been on selections with you, I don't know, 2 or 3 years beforehand, it's pretty cool to find this note from you. And you were on, I think, the other side of Brazil at the time on your big trucks, and and then we went on, we're coordinators in following events when young Gert joined in, weren't we? So in Tanzania then, so yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So that was the start of Bob's nice story on Camel Trophy, which still continues. Really, it's quite amazing. Well, for me, certainly, it changed my life, and what I've ended up doing in it has related completely to Trophy in a lot of respects, and still continues to do so with the kind of work that myself and Andy, who's hoping to join us later, are doing on the Overland Expo out in the US, where we've set up an area called the Camel Trophy Expedition Skills Training Area, which has a huge amount of interest, primarily because of the Camel Trophy side of things. And it's quite bizarre because, how long is it since the last event? Nearly, 20 years now? 19?
Yeah, getting off. Yeah.
So we're now seeing people of our age and younger, their kids and their kids' kids, showing interest in Camel Trophy and coming to that particular area to get training from people who were on Camel Trophy. And we kind of look at them and go, okay, we've developed our skills from back then, but we're most of us are in our late 50s and 60s, some older, and you know, it's quite humbling sometimes that folk are coming up and saying, oh, you know, we watch you in videos, and you know, it was Camel Trophy and those videos that we watch with our dads that's really got us into wanting to go out and travel and to drive off-road and things like this, and we want to learn from you guys. And that's, you know, now we're able to put something else back into the system, I suppose, with all our experience.
But I mean, it's cool that one, you know, well, Gert's event in '91 in Tanzania, different events, people ask you how, you know, what you think's the best one, the hardest, all that sort of stuff. And you know, different events had different bits of toughness. I mean, that '91 event, we just got bogged in for days in that sort of black cotton had a crust on it. So Ian Chapman and the cars at the front of the convoy were gone, you know, wondering why we were getting so sort of delayed behind them. And once a car broke through the crust, and we were literally parking cars on sand ladders at nights, and then Gert, you had the gearbox in that car, didn't you? Which car was it? Was it the?
Well, what happened is when we entered this difficult area, the gearbox of the German team broke down. Okay, and we were already behind on schedule, I remember, and Ian managed to call a helicopter in, okay, from headquarters with a gearbox. So the helicopter flew in, and they brought water and diesel, I remember. And so the new gearbox arrived. And what happened was we volunteered together with the Polish team and a service car of Land Rover to help the German team switch the gearbox. So what happened is the main convoy took route, they continued, and we stayed behind, okay? So when we were working on changing the gearbox, it's not for nothing Africa, it was the wrong gearbox. It was one for the Defender and not one for the Discovery. So we were there, the main team was gone, there was no radio because the distance of the radio was 6 to 8 kilometers. So we were completely with 4 cars isolated from the main convoy. So
well, good. You're discussing about a little story that you're telling from 1991 where you were assisted with Team Poland. So I've got a little surprise for you. If I click this button over here, and it might take a couple of seconds to work, but let's see who we've got who can join us. We'll give it a moment. There we go. That's a familiar face for you.
Hello, Slav.
Hey, Slavik. He's gone bald since the last time I saw him.
Oh, hello, I can hear you now. Hello.
Hey, Slavik. How are you?
Very good, thank you. How are you guys?
Excellent.
great. It's good to see you.
Yeah, oh, yeah, how nice to see you.
I think your ears must be warm because I was just talking about the Polish team and the Belgium and German team staying behind to help them with the gearbox.
Okay.
Where we just find out that it was the wrong gearbox. But a new gearbox was asked to be sent. But what we did not knew was that one of the helicopters, if I remember well, of the Tanzanian army, on its way back, it crashed.
But there was only one helicopter.
There was only one.
There was only one. No.
So what then happened? In a few words, a team of us walked back to a place where we crossed, and did not cross. We drove along a railway track. Okay. And these guys went up there, and then they split, one to the east, one to the south. And then they found the telephone, the local battery telephone. So they rang with this telephone. Well, they got connection. And then the next night, a new gearbox was sent over this railway track. So again, a team, with this mechanical, how you say, platform. And then a team of 4 or 5 people of us went back. And they carried the gearbox like you shoot a dead animal in the jungle, to carry it on ropes. So how many days, Slavik, we were behind on the main team?
I don't remember that exactly, but I just remember that the railroad was well, on a map it was quite close. You know, it's like 2 kilometers or even.
Internet? Oh no, I'm back now. Okay. All right. Sorry.
Oh,
So
yeah. Okay. So it was not so far, but I remember dragging this gearbox in this hot. It was
so
really hard.
when the gearbox was fixed, okay, we could continue to catch up with the main convoy.
Yeah. Sorry, good, but it's so easy to say when the gearbox box was fixed. But remember how was easy to dismantle it, put it on the ground, take it out from the car, and then put another one. Yeah. So in the jungle, in the middle of the jungle.
Well, we had to dig a big hole in the ground. I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, there was a good thing also during the 2 or 3 days we stayed there. On a moment, there was a hunter. No, how you say, a
Ranger.
guardian, a guy
Ranger.
who protects this national park. He passed our route, and he had a huge piece of meat on his back, if you remember.
Yes, the
Of
antelope.
an antelope or so he shot. So he gave us a big piece of fresh meat, and we cooked. We prepared this antelope meat, which was wonderful, of course. So when we continued our road, we had to stay on the main track because this was very important to not drive off the track. Yeah. And we had to go to the most messed up, difficult, how you say, road or track to get there through. And then suddenly, of course, I would say on a tree, there are a lot of trees, of course, but on a certain tree, we found, I still remember, a very small piece of paper that somebody left there. And he wrote, or she, but I think it was a he on that event, there were no ladies. He wrote the day and the time when he put that paper there. And this allowed us to calculate how much ahead of us they were. So, and then finally, after how much, 8, 9, or 10 days being separated from the main team, we catched up with them at a big river crossing. You remember?
Yes.
And they were on the other side.
Yes, and I remember how the Germans drive.
Tell it, otherwise I'm telling everything.
No, because they were trying to do everything better in this river crossing. So they decide to overpass a car, and they drove like 3 or 4 meters to the left instead of the road marked with the sticks or whatever, or with the people. And of course, it was deep, and you cannot pass on this way. Yeah, so. Yeah.
And am I wrong to say that there were also a kind of dangerous animals in this river, which you don't find here in Europe?
Yeah, okay, I remember.
But I remember it was where some places, because Duncan and I were sort of trying to keep some of the groups moving, and Ian were way ahead with the leaders. And I can't remember, Duncan and I at one point, I can't remember exactly what point of the trip it was, but we split up. One of us was staying to the existing track, which is horrendous, and the other lot thought we'd try and go alongside a railway line because it was actually, we thought it was going to be firmer. And I remember literally going from winch line, we were hooking the winch line in the sleepers on the railway line, and pulling ourselves the length of the cable, and just doing that for days on end. And Duncan was having was on the alternative route. We were trying to sort of have a little competition between us, trying to get our group through. But I don't think any of us won in the end. It was just a complete minefield of mud. And it was just
never seen mud like it before or after.
Black cotton.
Black cotton,
wasn't it?
Oh.
Yeah, and we were running out of fuel, weren't we? All the front cars, we were getting them to leave the jerry cans on the side of the road for the cars behind, and we were sort of stopping at river crossings, trying to make the river crossings better with a lot of timber to try and help the cars behind us. But Ian was in the front, telling us to hurry on through. But it's pointless hurrying through when the guys behind were just going to be completely bogged down even longer. But it was but we all got together again. I think, was it Makumi, Dunks? We got together, I think.
Yeah, Makumi was where we met up with Ian and Co. They'd been there for I think about 6 days.
It was a week, I think. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it was something like that. I'm pretty sure, Geert, you guys ended up probably. I think you were in front of me, Bob,
Yeah.
Or you, yeah, because well, you got in front of me
Yeah.
on the route that you took, and then we were following up behind, and then I think Geert, you and Swabik were about another 3 days behind potentially. But I mean that whole, no one expected it to have been as bad. Rainy season came early. When they did the recce wasn't done at the same time of year, so they didn't experience the black cotton. And I remember, and also when Ian and Mark went through, it was early on in the season and the grass hadn't grown. By the time they got back by the time we did the event, it was all covered with elephant grass, which in places you couldn't see anywhere. You couldn't make out any routes. The GPS.
No, we had spotters sitting on the roof racks, didn't we? Guiding the cars through. Yeah. That's right. I've forgotten that.
It was the worst of terrain to be driving through without knowing where the track was, because it was covered in old mapani stumps and what's the name of the thorny trees? Acacia.
Yeah. Acacia or camel thorn.
Acacia and camel thorns. It was covered in that, and we were running. Not only were we running out of food, we were running out of water in places, which was quite surprising given the amount of mud we were going through. I mean, I remember filtering water through socks to try and get the worst of the mud out of it before we then catadined it into our jerry can. But we were also running out of tires.
Yeah.
You know,
I remember stitching some of the sidewalls together with some paracord, and then putting a patch of inner tube on the inside of the tire to stop it chafing through the tires. Yeah.
I remember you and TC were experts at doing that and putting them off. There was kind of a production line going on because Mark was leaving his damaged tires at the side of the road.
That's it. Yeah.
As the main scout, he was getting the worst. He was bearing the brunt of it.
Yeah, and then we were all trying to stay in the same tyre tracks, weren't we? So, yeah, that's it.
Wasn't it the first year also that they planned to have special task during the convoy driving? So in the middle somewhere, and it was of course cancelled.
Yeah, we ran out of time for that. That's right. You're absolutely right. What else? One of the other things was it came. One of the big things I remember about that event was right at the beginning. All these. It was an event of contrasts for me, because I remember at the beginning looking at all, in fact, you and I, Bob, have discussed this several times, looking at all the competitors who were kind of fairly pale, having not been in the sun much. They were all, they were all looking well fed and stuff like this and eager to go. And then we had the ceremony, which was started with the Burundi. No, it wasn't the Burundi drummers. It was some other.
No, that was at the end
ceremony. That was the end ceremony. We won't go into that one. The start of the ceremony, they're all eager to go, and within 24 hours, we'd actually pretty much ground to a halt. And I remember coming across team members. I think it was Canary Islanders. Stuck on a fairly wide section of road and just stuck in the mud, and they had their feet sticking out the window. They were resting, or they'd slept overnight. And I said, "What are you doing, guys? We've got to keep moving. We're already running behind schedule." "Oh well, there's nowhere to winch to." I said, "Well, if there's nowhere to winch to, you've got to do something else." "Oh well, there's nothing we can do." I said, "Yes, there is. You've got straps in the car. Join them together and start pulling these cars through." I said, that is the only way we're going to get through this section. So eventually I managed to get a few of the teams together and showed them what they had to do. And we started pulling cars through the areas where we couldn't winch to anything. Of course, the Americans were the only ones who'd thought about bringing a ground anchor along, because they usually had a pole pal with them. But they were up at the front of the convoy. And I remember I'd bought a whole load of duckbill ground anchors, which we deployed at the top of fairly steep slopes coming out of dongas, so as vehicles could just hook onto them. But of course, once you'd set them, we had to leave them. They're probably still there, actually, but they proved to be very good. But yeah, it was a thing of contrast. When we got to the end of that event, everybody had lost several kilos in weight. They'd obviously been exposed to the sun and all the rest of it. It was a completely different look when you looked out over the teams who'd, in 3 weeks, had gained so much experience and seen so much and grafted so much, along with all the battered cars which had been, you know, really put through the mill to get through that event in time.
And just look what it's done to Gert. Yeah.
I confirm I lost more than 9 kilo.
More than 9,
Yeah.
really.
More than 9 kilo in a few weeks.
Yeah, 11 with me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many events did you do, Sławek, in the end? How many?
Well, I did all where the Polish team was involved. So I
Yeah.
was a member in '91, and then I work as a coordinator. So I travel with the journalist. So 97 was the last one.
Okay, yeah, I remember you on events, but I can never remember what people did exactly because it's just so many people on the convoys, wasn't it? Yeah, but yeah.
So I was not in a convoy on the next events, just on during the first. Well, in 93 in Sabah, Malaysia,
yeah,
I helped Terry Harriman. A special task. Yeah. So
that's right. Yeah, that was always a good experience being with Terry Harriman. Yeah.
And yes, I was a driver for Terry Harriman.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a photo. Excuse me for a second because you mentioned Sabah, Malaysia. I have a small souvenir there. One moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so you drove Terry Harriman while he was setting out some of the special tasks, did you?
Yeah. Because we were based in a hotel in Kota Kinabalu, and the special task place was like 30 kilometers away.
Yeah.
What? We drove there every day. Yeah. Okay, go on, Gert.
In Sabah, Malaysia, there was something along the track which we could always or almost always see in the distance, and that was this famous Mount Kinabalu, right?
Yep.
So this is off the record, Chris. So don't record this because otherwise somebody will go very mad again. So during the final banquet dinner, Frank DeWitt and Andy Dacey and I made a plan that this challenging mountain should be conquered. So we left around midnight with a car from the video team or the film crew or something, and we drove to the side of Mount Kinabalu, and at the next morning we were on the top of Mount Kinabalu. I don't know if you can see it.
No, you can see.
Yeah.
That's a great photo.
Yeah, that was a good climb. Yeah.
So what we did is we almost ran up. We were exhausted, all three of us. So we ran up to that mountain, and then we stayed at the final campsite. How you call this on this mountain? At close to 3,900 meters or 4,000 meters. And then at 3:30 in the morning or 4 in the morning, we went up for the last 100 meters. And we saw sunrise from Mount Kinabalu. It's a moment. I still get my hairs
rising.
Yeah, and then we had to run down to be on time back in the hotel to get the plane. But afterwards we found out that Ian also found out, and it seemed, I don't know, Duncan, if you or Robert knows, but he was not very happy.
No, I can't actually remember much about that. I know you guys went and climbed it. I can't remember Ian being super unhappy about it.
I remember Andy Dacey saying, "Do you want to come with us?" But I had an invite for Harvey Harrison on the film crew to go out on there. They had a super yacht hired for the day with all lots of drink and lovely barbecue on some little coral island. So I took the easy option and did that instead. And we looked up at the island, looked up at the mountain, knowing you were up there somewhere. Yeah. So no, it was a good one. Yeah, it was a good one.
Yeah, I was too busy bailing out the raft unit that someone had deflated and let water into the tubes.
Yeah, that wasn't. Yeah, I do have a memory of Duncan. Yeah, next morning as we were all going off to the plane and trying to winch 2 sunk Avons full of water out of the swimming pool. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the other thing is, Slavek,
Yes.
if you remember, somewhere in the forest, you could find the most dangerous species.
Yeah.
Don't you remember this one?
Yeah. Yeah. I will. I will remember those two species very well to the end of my life. Yeah.
Now, this was something, you know, in my hometown, Carnival is very famous.
Mm-hmm.
The hometown is the most popular one in the whole of Europe for Carnival.
Okay.
So we dress up, we put widgets. Now, as in the other events, we were with the ambulance car, always the last car at the end of the convoy. Yeah.
Yeah.
We had to go through the most muddy roads. So to keep our spirits up, we always had a good fun and laughs at the end of the at the back of the convoy.
Okay.
So these were one of these moments.
Yeah.
That's a good picture of Mike there, although he doesn't have any gaffer tape round his the cuffs of his shirt to keep the creepy crawlies out.
No, he doesn't see.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, by the way, I have another photo of your friend. Who knows this one?
Okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah. How many events did you do, Gert, in the ambulance, or how many did you do altogether?
I think 6.
Yeah. When did you finish then? What was your last event then?
97.
Was that Kalimantan 97?
Kalimantan, yeah.
Yeah,
Or
I
is
think
that
that was the last one.
Yeah. Okay. That's No, I was trying to remember. Yeah, because it's Yeah, you did quite a few as well. Yeah, because but always driving the ambulance, wasn't it? With Wolfie, was it, and Mike?
Well, that was a support driver. There was one
Yeah.
year also as a competition director, but well,
Yeah.
this wasn't
No.
so good fun.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was better for Terry Harriman.
Yeah. Okay.
Then
Yeah.
driving the ambulance, and together with you and Mark being
The coordinators.
convoy
Yeah.
coordinator.
Yeah.
I think this idea came up as we split up in Tanzania, Burundi,
Yeah.
to have at least every, what was it, 10 cars, 12 cars, a kind of sub coordinator taking care of a group of cars if we got split up again, which happened. Where was it? In Guyana, I think. No,
I think we did get split up a few times, didn't we? In places. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I remember one time. I think I can't remember if it was Tanzania or not. We were in a middle group so far, like you say, we lost radio contact, like you did. Gert. We actually slung the winch cable up in the trees and hooked the aerial off the car onto that, and we did make contact with the forward group then. So it literally made a big A shape in the trees with the winch cable and made a big antenna. So can't remember where we got that idea from. Somebody gave us it, but yeah, it was some terrific trips at times. Yeah. But they reckon Kalimantan was the last of the real muddy ones, but it was all a bit different then. So yeah.
Yeah, I think in a lot of respects we got the best of the years of the event when it was kind of the pure, more of a purist event with regards to driving and stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
What I found extra, how you say, impressive with Camel Trophy is that we went through Chile, Argentina, Paraguay, Chile. So we drove through the driest desert in the world, on the planet. And then 20 years later or more, the Dakar guys found this route, let me say, and discovered these tracks and passed from Africa to these countries. So I truly found this very amazing that we had the honor to being part of this Camel Trophy event in that region, and then find out 20 years later that this Dakar caravan passed on certain tracks and parts of the routes we did. So
well, I didn't hear about that, Gert. Was that actually a thing where they reported back having come across the Camel Trophy convoy tracks? Because they would have been, well, any track. I remember doing recce's out there and finding the tracks of old prospectors and their donkeys or mules finding those tracks running across some of the hills and areas that we were driving in out in the Atacama. So where Trophy went through, and certainly I bet our camp at Mount Trunky, that area will still be really visible as an area that was used for a camp and for the special tasks, with a trail that runs from it all the way up to the Socompa Pass.
Yeah, because there was old remains of railway lines and some mining activity, wasn't there? But the tracks, just remain there for years, don't they? So, yeah.
Who remembers? Was that Guyana or Sabah, when we stopped at the place where there was living an English lady?
That was Guyana.
With these piranhas fishes.
Yeah, that was Deanne McTurk at a place called...
McTurk, right.
Duncan, was it in Guyana or in Belize?
No, it was Guyana.
Yeah.
Yeah, Guyana, and she lived on a what was an old cattle ranch called Deanne McTurk. Oh, now you've got me thinking. The big ranch, the really big ranch, which is the biggest at one point, the biggest cattle ranch in the world, was Dadanawa, which was down south of Deanne McTurk in the Rupununi in Guyana.
Yeah, I remember asking the manager guy, how many acres he was, and I think he said 44,000 square miles.
Yeah,
not acres. Yeah, so
I remember there were I remember there were very strange cows there, Duncan. Look.
The wolf cow.
Yeah.
Caranambo is the name of where Deanne McTurk was, and she was I think she's still alive actually, or maybe she died recently.
We restored her Land Rover for her, didn't we? Because there was an old non-running 110 there, Fender 110 or an old Land Rover 110 in the parked up, and it had no prop shafts or UJs, and I think we managed to persuade the management to sacrifice some of our spares to I think we got it going in 2-wheel drive at least or something, just to get it, give us some transport again. Yeah. And
Mike ran a clinic there for the locals who came from all around.
I was just going to mention it. Together with Gabi Gubran,
yeah.
On an evening, I took out the passenger seat of the Defender, put it on the ground, and I remember very well an old lady came. And we put her down on the seat, and I had to stand behind her and hold her head, Gabby said. And I was like, what's going to happen here? And then he pulled out a lot of very, very bad teeth with all big abscess, how you call?
Mm-hmm.
My God. And I was standing behind her, and sorry to say, the odor that came out of that was terrible. But we helped this lady also. There was a gentleman with, I remember so well, his right foot on the heel, half of the heel was bitten away by these piranhas.
Mm-hmm.
And it was terribly infected. So we tried to clean that wound out and give him some medical support. So, well, that everywhere where we stopped and we could help people, we did. Mike and Gabby were fantastic medical.
Gabby Gubran was one of the other medical officers on the trophy for a couple of years. So yeah,
he was what do they call him, an oral dental cranial specialist, wasn't it?
That was his.
I remember Mike bringing him along because there was always a risk of someone getting injured badly, and Gabby was there to deal with head injuries and anything that needed to be sutured up in fine detail, because he was a surgeon. So
we had a situation with was it one of the US team journalists? Who remembers this road? I think it was Guyana that was washed out. It went a bit uphill, and on the left it was very steep, 4, 5, 6 meters deep. And this gentleman was going to take some photos. And sometimes when you want to make fun out of somebody, you say, "Yeah, do one more step behind, do one more," and then they fall in the pool. But he fell down 4 or 5 meters on his face, and his nose was in his face.
Yeah.
So we were there. We were just with the ambulance beside it. I put up the aerial, the antenna to call for emergency support, but there was just a helicopter flying in. Okay, so we managed to recover the person from I think it was 5 meters deep, to bring him back to the ground and give him first medical support, put him ready for airlift to hospital. And I remember that the jet in Miami was alerted to come and pick him up when he was flown back by the helicopter. And I remember that this was a quite influential journalist, I heard, and everybody was quite afraid that he would write, well, not very happy stories about Camel Trophy, but at the end, apparently he was very happy how we managed to safely bring him back to the hospital and get him medical support. So
yeah,
this was a scary moment. Yeah.
His first name was Ken. I'm trying to remember his second name. I still see him. I usually see him every year, at least at least one of the Overland Expos. He's always there. He's still doing journalist stuff. He still talks about that actual accident,
Really?
which pretty much tore a lot of his face off. His nose was pushed right out. Really, really bad damage. And he still talks about it and doesn't have an axe to grind or anything like that. He's absolutely fine about it. In fact, he always has a Camel Trophy jacket or shirt on. So
give him my best regards. One day you see him, give him my best regards.
I will do.
I might have some photos of him where we have him on the ground ready for airlift up with the helicopter.
Right, okay, I'll do that. I'll do that, definitely. I'll just make a note of that.
Slavik, were you on the in Argentina? Did you travel with the journalists on those back of those big 6-wheel drive Russian trucks?
Yes, of course. Yes.
Yeah, because my brother was with it, sort of running the UK team then, and he was on them. And I remember him. It got really, really dusty, didn't it? I've got a great picture of you all sitting like cattle in the back of this truck, completely covered in white dust. We were kind of motoring along in the cars, quite comfortable, but you guys were. Yeah, it didn't look very comfortable at all.
Yeah, but what I remember from this trip on the Russian track was one very, very early morning on Atacama, because we slept on the track. We didn't want to put a tent, and we slept on the bed of the track. Yeah, and I woke up like 5 o'clock or earlier. Yeah, and the fog was so dense. Then you can only see the floor of the track, and nothing else. Nothing, I don't remember the fog. Absolutely. So, even the ground was like 2 meters down from the track bed, and you cannot see anything, just like in a space. Yeah.
I don't remember the fog. I just remember the dust and seeing you guys. Yeah, just completely white. Just looked like ghosts, white ghosts in the back of the truck. Yeah.
It was one of the last days, so the all the humidity from the Pacific Ocean came to the desert, and it was really fantastic.
Yeah.
The last time I was out there, that same fog is still coming in, because I remember waking up one morning and there it was down in the valleys below you, up in the hills.
Yeah. That's stunning landscapes there, though, wouldn't it? Yeah, stunning. Yeah. But
do you remember what was the story with the radio transmitter and the helicopter during the Atacama trip? That it was lost somewhere.
They had to put somebody down. Was it Steve Silk because it couldn't climb high enough over the Andes or something to get over? Was it something like that, or? Didn't they put him down with a tent or something? Was it Steve Silk or somebody?
I just remember that there was a kind of accident. They lost it or whatever. No.
No, I think I seem to remember them putting a repeater somewhere. Yeah. But we took a llama with us on a llama helicopter with us on that event, which I remember helping the pilot put together at the start of the event, and. The reason for that was because it could climb over sections of the Andes. So they did manage to fly from Iguazu Falls all the way across to the other side, but they were limited to 2 people on the aircraft for the highest point of the crossing.
Yeah,
I-
yeah, you're right. They did
I
put
rem-
put a repeater somewhere up on the mountain, didn't they? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I remember, Duncan, that in the ambulance we carried, I think, at least 10 oxygen bottles,
That's right.
if you remember, which were
Yeah.
for the helicopter to be able to take off at the altitude. Another thing I remember well, when we were doing these routes, climbing, it was a bit strange to drive the car. For you guys, maybe this was a normal habit, but for me it was a bit strange. When you saw a corner of 180 degrees, you had to give flat gas out before you came to the corner, just to be sure that coming out of the corner, the car would react and pull you forward. So that was a bit strange. The reaction time was not the same as being at sea level, being at that altitude. So
It was off about 5,000 meters, I think, pretty close, wasn't it? I think it's pretty close to 5,000 meters.
I mean, there's some high, you went over the highest pass in the Andes. On that event.
was high. Yeah.
So Duncan, what were you always doing on these special tasks before the event started?
Oh, well, a lot of we were building them. I mean, it would take us a good, for the first set, it would take us kind of 3 weeks to get them built. I mean, we'd already recce'd the area, but then, you know, as with all these things, when you go back and you start looking at it, you know, things have changed slightly, weather conditions have changed slightly. What you've looked at putting in perhaps doesn't work. So it was always kind of a compromise and adapting what we thought we would do to make it work on the day and the time that we had. And as you know, Geert, there was an awful lot of timber work involved on these tasks because we decided to try and make them out of timber so as that the task remained the same for all the teams, even right down to taking the bark off the logs, so as nobody got an advantage by driving onto bark, which obviously would soon come off given a few cars had gone over it. So the log tasks kind of, they worked, but then they didn't work. It was still
when it was raining, it was difficult.
Yeah, as soon as they got wet, they were super difficult, and we always knew that was going to be an issue. But that was the route that we decided to go down to try and create an even playing field, because even when you didn't use the log task and you created something out of the natural terrain, you were still at a, you know, someone was still going to be at an advantage and someone was going to be disadvantaged by weather or just wheel spin or, you know, the changes that happen as you drive vehicles through those kind of things. So it was the special tasks were always a compromise, and they were difficult to build and difficult to try and build in a way that we would that kept it the same for all the teams.
Yeah, it was, I think, a constant battle every year, and as it evolved, even different tasks, different years, but trying to keep it fair for everybody was a nightmare, really, wasn't it? Because sometimes it was better going first, sometimes it was better going later through a task. It was just, very, very difficult to achieve, really, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think when we started mixing the tasks up and putting, you know, having teams going head to head and then dividing them into teams of teams, I think that evened out some of the issues that we had with special tasks. But it was a constant worry for us all the time as to building the tasks so as they didn't fall apart with the use they got, because we had to think worst case scenario of how they were going to be driven, because we knew some teams would drive really well because they had good training and lots of experience, and other teams wouldn't be driving as well because they didn't have access to the kind of training that, you know, there was always a difference between, you know, Japan and Russia and etc. too.
And you always sort of, you know, we all got taught, pretty much everybody got taught by Land Rover guys at some stage in final selections at Eastnor or wherever, but, you know, on the day, you know, fast as necessary or slow as necessary, was it slow as, oh, I can't remember what it was.
Slow as possible, fast as necessary.
Yeah.
Didn't always
but then when
work.
you get when you get on a specialist task, I remember inside on the edge of Lake Baikal where they put in some log things there for the cars to gently crawl over, and the guys just went over them flat out, and we had square rims at the end of it, and burst XELs, just went mad, the red mist or whatever, and just go mad over it. So yeah.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, sometimes you'd build a task and go, "Oh, there's no way they'll do this," and then the exact opposite happened. They did do that.
Yeah, and then the Belgian team is coming. Like
Yes.
91, the first flying disco. You remember?
Yes. Well, I was at the steering wheel and I was thinking, my God, this is a 4x4. It should cross this log. And I put the car not straight to it, but diagonal, or how you say in English? Yeah. So, and it went over it, and I pushed the throttle, and it lifted itself up a little bit. So
there's a picture somewhere, about 4 feet off the ground, about over a meter off the ground, the front wheels, isn't it? You got it there somewhere, I expect, Geert. Yeah. Or is that your bent front wing from it behind you? Is it?
Yeah. I got a souvenir here.
Then the famous photo came, the famous photo.
Some garage in Belgium was managed to get hold of the 91 car, and they fully renewed the car. It's like a brand new car. And Tony and myself, I got the right wing, and Tony got the left wing.
Oh, I see it up behind you here.
In the living room. So it's a beautiful souvenir. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Sławek, what were you going to say? A poker game?
Sorry?
You said you were saying something then about Geert. Was it a poker game or something, or a?
No.
Oh.
I just.
No, but Duncan, wasn't there something about river crossings and raft units too?
I was wondering when that one was going to come up, Geert.
Yeah. I haven't.
Sorry, Bob. Well.
Yeah, it looks like Sławek's gone off to get the photograph. Oh dear.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that was Guyana crossing the.
What was the name of the river? Yeah.
This very wide river.
Yeah, I was pretty much the last car across. Everybody was across and doing all their washing on the beach and drying all their clothes on the beach. And as I came across, and then I dipped my foot on the clutch to start the car and forgot the handbrake wasn't working and rolled off the back of the car into the water the wrong way.
But Bob, you only half rolled off.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, but it was highly embarrassing. It was a big cheer from everybody on the beach, and and then they had to deflate all the Avons, get the outboard motors off, winch the Avons out from under me, and then take me out, and then winch the car out of the water. And I got a feeling. I think the journalist Jerry Hart was in the back of the car, I think, and he wasn't very amused. As he was, I think, all of his writing gear and everything was swimming around in the water. So
An easy mistake to do, Bob. And looking back at things like that, would we do it the same way? No, you would put the vehicle up on the raft and you would put chocks in behind the wheels.
Yeah.
But we didn't lash the vehicles down. We weren't even. We were. I mean, if you look behind me here, hold on, where I get my finger. This. Hold on. It should work, shouldn't it? There. That picture there. We're on that raft unit. And we don't even have buoyancy aids on.
No, that's right. Yeah.
And you look back in this, you go, actually, how stupid was that? Especially in those waters.
Yeah, I mean, it was very, very lucky that nobody got hurt. With winch cables and the old steel winch cables that broke occasionally, and ropes that broke, and cars that rolled over, and not wearing seatbelts. That was a miracle. Nobody was severely hurt on the events, really. It was a miracle. And we had a few nasty accidents and a few cuts and scrapes to be dealt with by Mike Arani and the other doctors, but we were all very, very lucky. Yeah.
I think probably the worst things were the likes of the malaria for a start. Some of the tropical diseases. I mean, Nick Phillips, who was on the film crew, he got typhoid. I remember our instructor Bob, who did the chainsaw stuff.
Oh yeah, Dickie Barr.
Dickie Barr. How can I forget Dickie Barr's name? He got a really bad. He got a really bad infection in Malaysia.
Was that something he caught in the jungle, though?
Was
that something he caught in the jungle?
Who knows? Who knows? But I'm pretty sure he caught that at that campsite at the Padis River. And I remember speaking to locals and saying that, you know, a few of us were coming down with, you know, infections and stuff like this. And they said, oh, this is a bad area. And in fact, the river was called Padis. And in Malay, that meant bad river. But Dickie got a thing that kind of tracked all the way up both arms and on his back, which looked pretty scary. Tony Jardine picked up some amoeba, which the last time I spoke to him, he still sometimes suffers with something from that.
And there was multiple hornet stings and bee stings and that sort of thing, wasn't there?
The French guy.
Going off into the trees to sort of put a winch cable around a tree or something and knock in a hornet's nest and see everybody exiting the jungle quite quickly. I
still use that as when I'm instructing on winch cables and talking about setting your anchor points. I always use that as a teaching example about never assume that, you know, there's nothing dangerous around the tree.
No, that's it,
You know, if you're reaching down behind it, there could be scorpions, there could be those nasty, hairy caterpillars, hornets' nests. Even, well, in the US, it could have poison ivy, you know, so simple things like that. But I always use that as an example. And in fact, if it hadn't been for Tom Collins, TC in the car behind, who's allergic to bees, he had a shock kit, which he was able to administer to the French guy. I can't remember which Frenchman was it. It wasn't. It's one of the French team guys, wasn't it?
Can't remember which one.
But anyway, he was able to administer that, and then fortunately, you guys weren't too far behind at that point.
Well, we got an urgent call, an emergency call. We were, as I explained before, always at the end, the last car of the convoy. And Mike and myself and Wolfie, we jumped in the ambulance. I remember I put up the siren, in the forest, and drove really like a Mad Max beside the other cars that got stuck. So we managed to get there. I remember that the clutch was smelling like crazy, but then, like you say, Mr. Collins already had helped out the French participant. So wow.
But that was a close one. That was really close. So.
Perfect. What you got some good memories? Which favorite ones do you think?
Well, most of them were good for me, especially, you know, we have no previous experience in Poland about the Camel Trophy. So nobody really told me what this is all about. So I was very happy because I received a lot of toys. I received a new car, and I received the, you know, gateway to adventure, a ticket to adventure. So right from the beginning to the end, it was a great experience. Even it was not exactly what I expected at the beginning, because the sections of the black mud, you know, we were driving so slow. We were at the end of the convoy. So I remember one day when the helicopter came and Chapman gave us one can of beer to every participant, you know. I remember this, Heineken, and I drank this can of beer and I was completely drunk because I was so, you know, tired and I said to him, hey, it was a bad idea to use a car. We can use a bus tube with a winch and the speed will be the same. so he was not very happy, but you know, then we started driving and it was okay. But there were a lot of surprises for me. There were, for instance, if we have the river crossing and one car is called or a galley, and it took 1 hour for one car, you know. So we were number, let's say 12. So it meant 12 hours later we can cross. At the beginning, you don't realize such a thing. That's why.
No, the time. Yeah, you're right. The time scales to cross anything like that became huge, didn't it? When it took 1 hour to do a car, then it was.
And then I remember in the middle of the event, when Duncan came to us and said, you know, guys, you are so far away. We have to change the road and go on a normal road instead of the Camel Trophy track. Yeah. And I said, hey, come on, I came for Camel Trophy. How can I drive on a normal tarmac road? No way, we are not going this way. And he was particularly very unhappy with this because he expected we'll join the convoy in the next 2 or 3 or 5 hours. And then we have this road with a very big places of water and the crossing when the Germans decide to go on their own way. And by the way, I found the photographs for Gert. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh!
That one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Flying disco. Yeah.
Thank you.
Airborne.
Thank you.
We've talked a lot about 91.
Yeah.
Do you remember the party at the end of it?
Yes, I remember the party at the swimming pool.
I think every party should be started with a session with the Burundi drummers.
Oh yes, definitely.
That was the way to get a party started.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the special sliding track through the entrance hall of the hotel ended up right into the swimming pool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And some other things like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you must always have a Belgian airline coming in on the night of your party.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I remember. Now, gentlemen, last weekend there was on one of the Belgian radios here what they call a top 100, Billboard 100 on the 90s. And you know what was ranked quite high?
Trophy?
Conquest of Paradise.
What's that when it's at home?
At the end, at the finish, before the temple in Mundo Maya. The song, you remember?
I wasn't there, so that's why I didn't recognize that one here.
Well, you were there, Bob, no?
Yeah, I do. I can't remember the music. I was probably too drunk by then. I can't remember. Oh yes. Yeah.
Conquest of Paradise. It was a pre-release that Ian or somebody managed to get.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And it brought me back 25 years, or how much is it now?
Yeah.
More than 25 years.
But don't count.
You need to sing it a bit more, Gert.
He's probably got a tape recording of it.
Yeah.
That out.
Yeah.
You can gentlemen, you can Google it. Conquest of Paradise. Come on.
We'll do. Yeah. I think Chris is probably doing it.
Chris will be able to download that and flip it into the recording quite neatly.
Yeah. But no, we've had some terrific, amazing trips out of it all, that's for sure. And it's all led on to amazing other things, hasn't it? So, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
No, it's been brilliant.
Well, look at all the stuff, Bob, that you, myself, and Slavik have done over the years on vehicle launches.
Yeah.
For Jeep, etc., Mercedes, where that's taken us.
Discovery 2 in this Colorado.
Yeah.
No, that's right. No, it's been terrific. Yeah. In fact, we're still all in contact and still, still talking to each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
Despite you telling Slavik off in Tanzania. Yeah.
I'd forgotten about that, but then I guess I had a lot going on.
But we are.
Oh right. Chris is trying to be clever here. I can't hear anything, but yeah. I thought that was the Mundo Maya one. Use that one.
Yeah, Mundo Maya. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
I remember now. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, Mundo Maya. Yeah, with the big pyramid at the end. That was an amazing finish as well. Yeah.
But I must tell you that regarding the Trophy people, this is the best organized mafia all over the world. Believe me. Yeah, because I had a years ago. There are two guys from Canary Island team, and I manage. I get the telephone numbers to them from Pep Villa from Spain, who was our trainer, and I telephoned to one who was in '93 in Sabah, Malaysia. I didn't spoke to him for 20, 30 years. Yeah, I just telephoned him and I told him I am on Tenerife. Can we meet? And he was like half an hour later. He just opened the door of my house and said, "Hello, I'm I'm here. What can I help you? What can I do for you? Whatever." So I had a great tour all over the island, and we met several times now. So it's perfect. And I'm traveling and I'm doing like a film job all over the world. So this is always my best connection to call somebody from Camel Trophy, and I know it's always he will help me.
Mhm.
And the same works on the opposite. Anyone from you is calling, and we are just doing that. Yeah,
Mhm.
whatever
Yeah.
is necessary. Yeah?
But
With
Duncan,
pleasure and with pleasure.
Yeah.
it's like you were saying in the beginning, Duncan. I'm so surprised and happy, and it's fantastic to see that the Camel Trophy Club and its members and all these people around are keeping this spirit more than alive.
Yeah.
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 This is wonderful. I never could have thought that it would stay so active somewhere, and people sharing pictures, and like Slavek is saying, you meet people again, like we are doing now. It's a
Mhm.
big family. It's a fantastic
Yeah.
family, and I'm so happy to be part of this. Really.
Yeah. 30
But-
years later, it's amazing, isn't it? 30 whole years later. Yeah. Yeah. Incredible. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm still working with a lot of the Camel Trophy guys. There's the event that we do out in the States. Słavik's been out there. I've been trying to persuade Bob to come out for ages. But I'm working with, actually, Jim West from the US team and Ken Cameron from the US team are actually colleagues of Andy and I. We're in business together out in the US, doing driver training stuff out there. Still working with a lot of the other guys who do work for Land Rover, but also come and do work for us as well, doing training stuff. Beppe Gualini, I worked with in a job 2 years ago. He was also out in another job in Germany, four-wheel drive job there. Sławik was out with me in Montenegro. When was that, Sławik? 2 years?
A year ago, the summer before, not this summer, but the summer before.
All right, yeah. So we were out in Montenegro, working.
And China, of course. And in China, two
and
times
in
in
China.
China.
Oh, I forgot that. Yes. And in fact, Jim West.
Long time.
Jim
long
West
time.
came and joined us in China too.
Yeah.
That was something else. So, yeah, as Sławik says, wherever you go in the world, you've got a contact, and you know that they'll help you out whatever needs to be done. So there's still an existing. The family is still very, very close. Very close.
Yeah. And hopefully with like this little group chat now, it'd be nice if we'd had a few more, Andy and Mike Arani, but it can become a bit more of a regular thing and get a few more different people mixed up and into the mix and sharing their experiences, because we can only remember certain parts. Well, I certainly can at my age and forgetting a lot of it, but talking to you other guys, you kind of, it suddenly brings back and you remember things, don't you, that from events that you kind of completely forgotten about, which is nice. So yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Chris, is there anything specific that you want to ask for the Camel Trophy Club at all of us? Because we've just wittered on about various experience and really only covered a couple of events, to be honest with you. But there may be some things that you specifically want to ask.
Thank you, Duncan. I mean, that's it's been fantastic kind of sitting here listening. It's been very much like some of the reunions we run where you gather around a campfire with a can of pop in your hands and just listen to the stories as they come out. and I kind of feel it's quite evocative. I can almost smell the smoke from the campfire and the soot in my eyes. So thank you very much for that. I think that one of the obvious questions that Camel Trophy enthusiasts want to ask is what's the best Camel Trophy event, or what's your favorite? And the four of you, I've been trying to keep a tally of how many events between you all attended, but it's got to be kind of like 4 each maybe. And I'm just wondering if you guys are in a really good position to kind of say which of the events is the most iconic, or the one that kind of sums up Camel Trophy for you.
Good question. Okay, I'll start off on that one. First of all, every event was different. Ultimately, I only did 2 and a bit proper events, in that when I went out to Russia, I didn't do the start of the event. I was flown in about 4 days into it to pick up video press releases, and then I joined the convoy from there on in Siberia. Tanzania, Burundi, I did the whole event. Guyana, I did the whole event. I did the whole event. Sabah, Malaysia, I did the whole event, but not on it because I was running the special task with Terry Harriman. So in actual fact, in some respects, we were out there for longer because we were building those special tasks up, and then the event came to us almost. And the same in Argentina, Paraguay, and Chile. Although I was involved in recce's in different ways on them. I think what was my favorite event? I think that's difficult because, you see, I really like deserts and I also like jungles. And I suppose the most I know you guys are going to struggle as well in some respects. I suppose Guyana for me was really interesting in that I did the whole pre-scout for Guyana, and I did the first pre-scout for Guyana, didn't go on the second one because I was in hospital suffering from malaria that I picked up out there. But the pre-scout was really challenging on that event, and really enjoyable because we were seeing such different places, and that was a challenging jungle to be in. Tanzania, Burundi was such a difficult event from the physical driving and winching perspective. So it was enjoyable. Well, they're all enjoyable. They're all enjoyable. But yeah, it's difficult. There's so many different bits that you can pinpoint something on. But the one thing about Trophy was the camaraderie that it built between yourself and the guys that you'd worked with before, and the new people you're meeting in the team, some of whom you'd already come across as part of the selection process. So, and I think everyone would agree that actually Camel Trophy has always been looked at as an adventure expedition event, or an expedition with an element of competition to it. And actually, the best bit about the trophy was the expedition part, and in actual fact, the competition to find a winner of the trophy itself actually was the element that kind of got in way of the camaraderie and what Trophy was really about. I think if you could do Trophy and not have the competition, that is the perfect event.
Yeah. Go on, Gert, what do you reckon then?
Well, I honestly, I join Duncan for close to 100%. He was reading my mind, I think.
Yeah.
I was looking back on the event 91 when we were candidate together with Slavek and with Tony, and this was the first impression being on the convoy. This was the reward of 1 year long selections.
Yeah.
Okay, I never drove honestly, I never had driven a 4x4 vehicle in my life before. And I listened and looked and stealed with my eyes what other people were doing, and we got the training, etc. But the hard work, the reward for the hard work was the event, where I remember that being in the Black Cotton, people were mourning about, it's difficult, I'm going to take, and I was happy to be there.
Yeah.
I was, wow, this is fun. And it's only 3 weeks, enjoy it, please, it's good fun. And we had a fantastic time with Slavik and the team being behind. All this happened per coincidence. So this one stays in my memories as my Camel Trophy, when I look to myself. But then I got so lucky to participate as a staff member on another 5. And there I must join Duncan again. I adore the jungle, and I adore the desert. And that's a wonderful thing on Camel Trophy, apart from camaraderie. I'm not going to repeat all the things which Duncan said, which is very much true for myself. But the special thing was the difference from continent, from landscape, from situation, from very dry and muddy up to the driest desert, where the first 2-3 cars could drive, and then the rest was in cement. Driving in cement, very difficult. So which one was the best one? All of them. All of them. I cannot pick out one of them. So
no, I think I've got to agree, really. Like you say, when you finally, taking part in selections and then getting on the team, it's an amazing experience, and you believe that's the kind of pinnacle. And then to be asked back to help out again is just, you never think that's going to happen. And then, like I say, to be involved in a few more is just, absolutely incredible, really. And a different experience, but seeing the other side of it. And later on, you did see, I think, when the selections in the UK maybe got a little bit easier at times, and you see some people perhaps not, I don't know, they didn't seem to be making the most of it on the event themselves, and you think, God, this is your one chance to do this event. You can only take part once, and then you see them not making the most of it, and you just think, what a waste. It's tremendous opportunity, and that always made me a bit sad. But but all the events were incredible. I wouldn't want to put one above the others. I don't know what Slavik thinks.
So
Slavik,
well, for me, it was, of course, the when I passed the selection, it will work very well for my ego, because you felt that you are strong, that you have some possibilities, and then the event showed me how little I know about the off-road driving, because 91 event. Among the 7 I saw, the 91 was tough, in my opinion. Tough in a part of, from the point of view of driving. Not the most interesting. I really like Guyana, but I was just the observer. But the surroundings were very nice, so I can imagine the convoy was even better. I didn't like, but it's not the good word, the Argentina, Paraguay, Chile. But it's my personal view, because I went there just a week after a very, very strong malaria I had before. So I was there not very fit, and especially on the heights. There when we travel was not very good. So Guyana was very nice, but I have no experience, just some stories. I had some stories about the previous events. One of the first ones. It was an adventure, 10 cars, 12 cars, no more, just for themselves, without such a big support as we had. So it was, I imagine it was tough, and adventure with a big A, let's say.
No, it's been a great experience to catch up again, hasn't it? Chris, as Duncan said, have you got any more questions? Or
I think what we'll do, Bob, is we'll draw it to a close, because I get the impression you guys could talk all day, and whilst I'd love that, we want to save some stories for another time. So if you don't mind, I'll just kind of draw things to a close, and it just remains for me to say thank you very much to Slavik Makaruk, Duncan Barber, Hurt Bondil and Bob Ives, thank you very much for your time and your stories.